Hello, this is Greg Wagner for CIS 129. So I was requested to make a video for Lab 4, so I thought I'd make one real quick to show you kind of how to get started. So basically for Lab 4, what you're going to be doing is printing out to the screen slips for rent. And so for this particular assignment, what you need to do is have basically three things. One function, at least one array, and at least one loop. And you can see that from the assignment, but from the assignment description. But what I wanted to kind of get you started with was essentially how to kind of get this started. So kind of for the basic stuff, so I'm going to call this class Lab 4. And I already, you notice up here I have as Lab 4 lowercase, but it should be uppercase. And then I'm going to create the class, and then so we need a main function, so I'll do public static void main string argv, and then in here you're going to need to at least make one function. So kind of as a rule of thumb for functions, whenever you have to copy and paste something more than once or more than 3 times, you should make a method. And so for this method, what I want you to do is we're going to make a method that basically prints out the statement. And so I'm going to make this by basically copying and pasting from the D2L thing. So you want to make this going to be a public static as well. We don't need to make a class for this particular assignment, and say print receipt. And then I can't quite remember what the inputs are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to print out the values here, what kind of a model value is going to be, and then comment it out, and then kind of start filling it in. So I'm looking at this string, and I'm noticing, so I need to do apartment 1, that's one of the numbers that's going to be passed in, how much the rent is, and what the month is. And the 5th and the 1st will stay the same. So I'm going to basically pass in int, call this a part number, double, rent amount, and string month. And then to structure this, what I'm going to use is a string method called format. So I'm going to call this output string, and I'm going to use, it's going to be, the format is string.format. And basically what I'm going to do here is I'll do apartment, and then I'm going to do %d. %d stands for an integer, actually means decimal. And then I'm going to do %s, which means this is a replacement for January, so it's going to basically fill in this value here. Rent due, and then I'm going to do $, dot to f. So basically what this means is a % there, percent, dot sign f. Basically this is saying, okay, I'm going to put a floating point with 2 decimal places to counter here. Usually the default value is a little bit different depending on what your settings are. Usually it's about 4 places. On Control S again, so filling in this January position here first, and then I'm going to do /n, which means next line. Late fees will be collected on %s for to fill in for this January here, 5th. And then I'm going to put in the line. And then for the next line, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in the position. So this is, so I basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 basically different variables that I need to put in there. So the first one's going to be the apartment number, so part num. The second one's going to be the month, so I'm going to do month. The third one's going to be the rent amount. So this one here. The fourth one is going to be the month again. And the fifth one's going to be the month. And so I'm going to save this and compile just to make sure that it actually works. So now what I want to do is test to see how this actually works. So I'll actually put, and then I need to put system.out.println output string. So the variable string here is going to go in here. And to test this out, I want to match up with here, so I'm going to do print receipt, and then I'm typing 1 for the apartment 1, 300 for 300, and then the string January. And then do Shift F5 to save it. And then I want to run it. F2. So you can see it printed out essentially the same format as above here. So now I have this print receipt ready to go. And what I want to do now is actually kind of start setting up for this actual program. So basically what we're going to need to do is make 2 arrays. One array is going to hold the rent amounts, and another array is going to hold the months. And so, like I said in my arrays video, you can basically set up, create arrays a couple of different ways. But for this one, we'll kind of just pre-allocate them. So I'm going to say double, and the brace is saying that it's an array. I'll call this rent amounts, and it's an equal, and then I'm going to copy and paste in from the sheet the different rate amounts, and then I'm just going to basically comment them. So I do this quite often. If there's text I kind of need to know the format of, I'll just copy and paste and then comment them out. Technically, you're supposed to, a lot of times for best practice, you're supposed to kind of just get rid of them. But I kind of leave them in there to give context for the equations. So I'm going to do 300, 400, and then notice how I'm initializing it by doing braces and then comma separating the values. 250, 500, and 1000. So notice here that these values are going to line up to, this is going to be the 0th position in rent amounts. This is going to be the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th positions. Remember, with arrays, the first value starts with 0. And then I'm also going to do the months. So I don't have to actually look this up. I'm going to do string months equals January. And I'm going to skip ahead and save you the tedium of watching me type this in. So now all these values are typed in. I'm going to, instead of type it in, these are called, we type a number directly into a function, it's called a magic number. Instead of using the magic numbers, I'm going to kind of fill these with variables. So I'm going to do rent, and I'll say apartment number, and I'm going to make this 1. I'm going to assign a value, and what you're going to need to do later is make a loop. So you're going to basically a nested loop, a loop within a loop. You're going to do one loop for each apartment number, then the number of days associated with that. And so I'm not going to show you how to do that for this video, but this should get you started. And so I have apartment number. So one of the values here, this is going to be from your first, I just do a for loop with basically 5 values in it that does 5 iterations. So you get the apartment number from there. So remember, you want to start the rent amount at 0, and so the apartment number is going to need to be whatever the loop number is plus 1. And then you have the apartment number, and then I'm going to do rent amount 0. And actually what I'll do is, I'll say this, I'll call this int. So you want to make a loop that has this. I'll say this apart counter. I'll make this 0. And so the apartment number is going to be apartment counter plus 1. And then this is going to be apartment counter here. And then what your another loop's going to be is the month counter. And so you're going to have another for loop that goes from 0 to 11 for the month counter. So instead of doing January here, I'm going to do months, month counter. And again, what you needed to replace for this assignment is a for loop that calculates basically these particular values here. And I'll leave that up to you how to figure out how to do this. So I'm going to save this and then compile, and then I'm going to run it. And you see here I'm going to have the same output. So these values get passed into here, down to here. So I'll post this code on the class website, and then if you have any other questions, please post them in the comments on the video or in discussions, or just email me and I'll be happy to answer them for you.